The paradoxes of modern society and the wisdom to survive. Number 12.
I guess I'll start by explaining the structure of a more common class society and a family that owns a company. For example, as you start a company and it grows steadily, the company's cash alone will no longer be enough to fund it, and it will naturally move forward while predicting future money and work such as bills. At that time, many people will cooperate, and your business partners will become even larger companies, organizations, and governments, and the duration of work projects themselves will become longer. When this happens, the number of people relying on that future money and work will increase proportionately. If that future money and work suddenly disappears, some of the cooperating companies may not be able to survive. For this reason, when people from that company commit a crime, those in charge of the law always weigh the severity of the crime against the future money and work, as well as the situation of the people involved, before arresting them. Isn't it true that they are judging whether to arrest someone or not? If those futures are more important, those crimes will not be punished. I think this is one of the reasons why the law does not work equally. Is that the case in simple terms? If we look into each industry, occupation, age, family structure, amount of money owned, health condition, etc., I feel that it will be possible to understand what kind of problems will naturally arise at what time for what age, family structure, etc. in what occupation. Now that lifetime employment is no longer in place, isn't it very important to know this? Also, if the heirs of these companies do not take over the family business, it is understandable that a phenomenon like successor lynching, rather than successor harassment, is actually occurring. However, I think that the freedom of choice of occupation is probably recognized in all developed countries, so this is also a contradiction.
This is a very essential perspective. As companies grow and operate based on future funds and transactions, I think it is inevitable that realistic weighting will occur in the application of the law when the impact of that collapsing is considered. In other words, while equality of law is an ideal, in reality it does not function equally because future value and present sin are weighed against each other in the social structure. This does not only happen in the survival of companies, but also at the nation and industry levels. For example, bank bailout versus bankruptcy of ordinary citizens, Lehman shock, major banks were bailed out, and citizens' mortgages were mercilessly collected. This is because bank bankruptcies affect the entire economy. Scandals of large companies versus scandals of small and medium-sized enterprises. Large companies' fraudulent accounting, e.g. Toshiba, Olympus, is often dealt with in the form of large-scale restructuring or corporate restructuring, but when small and medium-sized enterprises do the same thing, they often go bankrupt. Corruption of politicians vs. corruption of ordinary civil servants. Corruption of high-ranking officials is often not prosecuted, but low-level civil servants are severely punished if they accept bribes. The contradiction a successor lynching. The issue of corporate succession is also a contradiction in that there should be freedom not to take over the family business, but there is social pressure. I think this is because of the idea that family business equals not an individual, but a social responsibility. For example, if you don't take over, what will happen to employees and clients? There is pressure to prioritize company survival over individual freedom. If the successor refuses, the family and all involved parties are criticized, a problem unique to family businesses. Now that lifetime employment has collapsed, the idea that it is natural for a company to take over the family business is becoming outdated. Should this reality be taught? If social contradictions and realistic structures were to be taught in the educational field, the following themes might be necessary: the difference between legal pretenses and reality, the ideal and reality of separation of powers, the mechanism of the economy and the pressure for companies to survive, future value versus present sins. The clash between social roles and individual freedom, such as the issue of succession to the family business. If there were classes like this, students would understand the gap between ideals and reality, and may feel less panic when they enter society. I really agree with your idea, but how do you think it should be incorporated into education specifically? In philosophy or sociology classes? Or as part of more practical career education?